Hey, so I want to take a look at three more stocks. We want to look at Shopify, followed by Teladoc, and then we'll wrap up with Draftkings. So last time we looked at these three were on either April 12th or April 13th. Uh, so let's just start with Shopify. Shopify is currently on the screen. Uh, Nothing's changed prior to the last time we touched on this. So it looks like we drew in this uptrend channel that's fairly narrow, but at the same time showing a consistent trend here. That seems to be intact. There was one instance, or actually, it looks like a couple instances where it does trade slightly above our upward channel. I mean, you could say it's technically gone slightly below the channel also, but overall, it seems to be following this trend very nicely. This trend we noted started back in October of 22, still currently happening here in June of 23. Let's share the tracker real quick before we go any further. So we have Shopify right here. At the time, it was trading at 45. We had buy points marked at 30 and 41. So it was very close at that point, again on April 13th. And we had resistance at 54. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we noted this slight uptrend, which had been happening for 6 months. Now it's more like 8 months, and we said to buy the dips. So let's pull this back out and look at 413. So 413, we were right around here. Let's move this over. Right here, about 46, 45, I guess. But 413, so right around here. Ever since then, it's gone up. So that was a dip opportunity. It was down towards the bottom of this uptrend. It kind of hung out there for a good while. So anytime between about 39 all the way up to 48, that kind of skimmed the bottom. I think our argument at the time was because over the past, let's zoom out, for about since April of 22 till today, it's been just consolidating between what appeared to be 30 and 54. Of course, we did notate this uptrend that was happening, but for the most part, again, it's been trading sideways. And so when we look closer at 413, my imagination was telling me that this one could pull back, potentially back into the bottom half of the range. Because again, um, hmm, okay, never mind. I thought it would kind of fall back into this range again on the lower of the average between 30 and 41. And so I think if I didn't buy, that's what I was holding out for. I'd have to go through and at some point I'll kind of give what my transaction history is just so we can kind of get better at assessing how well we're doing over time. Uh, but again, just sticking with this, let's start updating it. So again, it was at 45. Clearly, it's been going up since then, as today we're at 58. At this point, buy opportunities. Right now, this channel seems to be good. So let's update that little note. This uptrend channel has been going on since mid-October. So we'll say, I guess we'll just say 7 months. It's really like, I guess we'll say 7.5 months. That's probably most accurate here. So slight uptrend, that's still intact. It's been doing that for the past 7.5 months. And we're saying to buy the dips. Right now, after it kind of accelerated very rapidly here during early May, so we'll have to look into that, see kind of what caused the pop, whether their financial statements were very good. I'll be anxious to see why, but it's you can see it pulled back a little bit back within the channel. It's at the top. It's above our resistance line that we marked at 54. So for those two reasons, right away, I'm marking this one red as I'm not interested in buying it at this price until I can do more research and can kind of validate it. But for right now, uh, based on what I know, it's just too high. And especially based on the technicals, it's just too high right now. In terms of a buy point, which we had at 30, which is that green line, and 41, which would be the blue line. 41, that's again what I considered the fair value. Um, so if you'd get it below that, that's great. Slightly above, it's not bad. It's fair. So would I change that today? Uh, at this point, the the highest point that I would consider buying this is 48. And 48 is the bottom of this gold channel. Of course, as time passes, 48 could turn into 49, 49 turns into 50, and it just slowly slopes up. Again, we will need to look into the news, look into the financials, see what's kind of going on, what's causing this to push up, because as we know, this one's has a lot of potential here. At one point, it was at 176. Now it's pulled back to in the 50s. So I think long term, this one has good potential, and we'll probably want to add into this at some point. If we just go back a little bit more, so this is back to 2020 right here, the very beginning of 2020 up through today. There doesn't seem to be much trading between the level of 54 and 70. And I just want to point that out because that's kind of why we saw it accelerate up so quick, but also come down very quick also, is because there just wasn't much activity here. And again, I'm not really making this up. It's just this is what other technical analysis type people have brought up in the past, and it seems to hold true. And that's kind of why I'm kind of making this point now is whenever it accelerates through, I don't know, 10, 20, whatever's like a large chunk in pricing for a stock, you'll see it just fall right back. I'm sure when we get to Facebook, we'll see a very, very similar thing. I'm sure with some of these other hype stocks, we'll see a very similar thing where whenever it accelerates, that's fine. And it might, as we see, kind of catch up a little bit in terms of value. In this case, at 88, zooming in here, like it kind of consolidated there. So there was like footing there. But once it fell through, as it did, you could see it kind of hung out, but then it accelerated or decelerated down again until it caught up with what seemed to be a little more resistance, which again, there was some activity where it hung out in that range of about 30 and 41. So the fact that it got caught there, it kind of makes sense. I guess let me know if you have any questions on that. I'll do my best to answer it. And again, this is just kind of my opinion. So if you just have questions in general, you want to add some news, or if you have different price points than what I'm kind of presenting here, feel free to share that. I'd be happy to read it. But again, so going back to the buy points, right now, yeah, the earliest I would consider it right now would be about 48, somewhere in the 48s, close to that. Again, that's based on the uptrend and the fact that we said to buy the dips. Am I buying it today? The answer is no, and because it's such a hard no, I'm probably not going to touch this one until I circle back, unless I set reminders, which for today, I'm not going to change my buy points until I can figure out why it's accelerating. Once I can figure that out and nail it down that, oh, they're getting more revenue or whatever, sure, then I can update it, but for now, I'm going to leave it as is. Resistance, I guess 54, if I had to pick another point of resistance, I guess our next step would be 70. That's kind of the next line we marked. It seemed like there was some resistance there when it tried to push above it. And if I look back further, 70 seems like something. The thing is, if this one passes 70, I think it could easily come all the way up to about like 100. That's the thing. So hopefully we can circle back to this one before that happens. I think we'll have time, but uh, we shall see. So for now, resistance, I'll keep the 54 in, but I'm also going to add 70. And let me update the date as well. 264. Before we leave, what we want, or not leave, but go on to the next stock. What I want to do is let's just pull this out as far as we can, which is about here. That takes us out to like end of November. We'll do the same here. Pull that one out till end of November. And let's kind of pull that down. Trying to keep it as parallel as possible. That's pretty good, I think. It's always hard to tell, but that seems pretty good. So based on what's going on, if I had to guess where it's going to be at the end of the month, aka the end of the second quarter, my point is going to be somewhere in here, right in this range. I'm hoping it pulls back further than that, so I'm going to give it a little extra. I don't know if that actually will happen, but that's kind of what I'm hoping happens, is it'll kind of overcorrect and maybe we'll swoop in at that point. But for now, that's kind of my range between about 50 and 57. Right now it's at 58, so if I'm projecting if I were to buy in right now, I'm probably going to lose money over the next month. However, let's see, based on this, let's draw in another box. End of third quarter. Based on what we're seeing here, did I catch it? Yeah. Based on what we're seeing, we kind of have to put it here. I just want to zoom out a little bit. So that's like right in there. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. That's reasonable. I think for this one, and again, just based on where we're projecting it at the end of the year, it might stick its head above at that point. So I think that's reasonable to assess it that way. And then here, yeah, I'm not sure what I saw to make me think it's going to be at that type of level. I guess it was really just the uptrend, and I kind of scaled it back a little bit. We'll look into this, but so that wraps up Shopify. Let's just kind of do a quick recap. So Shopify here in red, not interested. It seems like it's at resistance. So we're going to keep our buy points at 30 and 41. I think resistance is at 54. We're above that, and also 70. I think if it wants to continue up, the next kind of struggle point is going to be 70. So there is some breathing room. It could go either way, but without knowing more, I'm more on the resistance side. I think there's going to be better opportunities for us, so we're going to keep looking. So let's move on to Teladoc. So Teladoc, very different story. Set up very similarly, but clearly a different story. So let's zoom in. They've been consolidating for the past over a year. So right when it dropped into this range of about $22 to 41, 22 being this green line at the bottom and 41 being this red line at the top, it pulled into that via this big red candle at the end of April of 22. Ever since then, it chopped sideways on the upper half between 30 and 41, and then right around in September of 22, it crossed 41, or I'm sorry, it crossed 30, and it's been just trading up and down between 30 and 22. Right now we're at 24, so let's zoom in here. We're at 24. We're very near that bottom, and sure, we might hit that bottom, but this one to me is a buy. I mean, I'll just cut right to the chase. To me, this is a buy. I am very interested in looking into the news on them. I can't recall the last update I had. It must not have swayed me. I'd have to look at also the portfolio. I'm not sure how much I have allocated, if it's just like one or two shares or either way, I need to read up on this one, and hopefully we can do that next time we cover this, as opposed to just doing a technical analysis again. But yeah, this one just seems like it's a good opportunity, a good spot to buy this. If we zoom out just to see some more support, I mean, this company is older than I thought. It goes back to 2015. But right here, if we zoom out, it looks like there's decent consolidation between 30 and 41. That's crazy. And that time period was 2017 to 2018. And ever since then, it's just been up there. So I think this one's a good one. Again, I'm going to buy it very modestly until I can do some news. Hopefully, I don't miss out on this opportunity. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to chip in, maybe buy one or two shares just because the dollar value is as low as it is right now at 24. So it was 26. So I guess let's state that. Last time we checked in, it was right around here, very thin sliver of green at about 25, 26. Since then, it's actually pulled down, and we might be now starting to head upwards for maybe a month or so. And we'll see if it kind of continues this rolling pattern where it goes up and down. Right now, it looks like we might be heading up for a little bit, maybe reaching 27, 27, 28. This is one that if you're, I guess, patient enough and willing to follow something very consistently, meaning like not necessarily a daily basis, but a weekly basis, check in on Monday and Friday consistently. This one, at least, for the past, since October, it's gone through the cycle 1, 2, and you could argue that's 3. I mean, it's been doing this for nearly 3 quarters. How much longer is it going to last? All I'm getting at is this is one that if you knew this company in and out, this is one that potentially you could just do short-term trades where you buy that dip and then you sell at this peak, and once you see the red candles start to show up, you just take profits and rinse and repeat. Obviously, we're not going to be doing that quite yet. We're not established enough. We don't follow these closely enough either, meaning on a weekly basis to kind of perform that. Plus the taxes. Yeah, I don't want to get into that. But so as far as a buy point, at this point, I'm comfortable leaving it at 22. No real update there. Resistance, we had 30, which was the fair value point. By no means am I saying that would be like a take profit opportunity, but clearly we're running into resistance there at 30. So let's do some quick math here. So 6 divided by 24, that's 25%. That's crazy. So if it continues this pattern that we're seeing, that if we were to buy right now and say it hits 30 and we just sold everything, that would be a 25% return. And based on this, it's been doing that. It takes about a month. It takes, let's see, maybe a month or two to hit that peak and pull back, and then a month to top out, and then a month and a half, pull down, a month to rally, and here we are kind of doing the same thing. It's just interesting to think about. But in terms of resistance, yeah, so 30, we're going to keep that for now. If it does make it over 30, I mean, that would be great because 41, a lot of room and a lot of potential for this one. I'll be very interested to see what news I come across when we get around to it. Shouldn't be much longer, but let's update the date. And our note just said currently trading between 30 and 22. Should really be the opposite, 22 to 30. And that is still true today. I'm just going to flip those numbers around, 22 to 30. And that's it. So we're going to move on to DraftKings, but before we do, let's just let's do a quick summary here. So Teladoc currently is at 24. Our ultimate, what seems to be the ultimate low for this is 22. So if you can catch it, great. If not, I think 24 is close enough. Resistance at 30 and 41. So as we kind of calculated real quick, just a 30, that's 25%. And if you get it to 41, I mean, we can look at the numbers and see it's not 100% or like a double up here. Very close though. So potential. And then currently trading between 22 and 30. That is still the same today, about a month and a half later. So one thing that I will do before officially moving on to the next DraftKings stock, we've been doing this with the others. If I were to pick where I think, if I were to pick where I think this one's going to be at the end of the second quarter, chances are we're going to find it hanging out right in this range. I would say I'm going to go with kind of the pattern that we've been seeing, and I think it's going to end up somewhere in here, right in there. In terms of the third quarter, and it looks like we already drew in our fourth quarter. I'm probably going to scale that back a little bit. But third quarter, that brings us to, let's grab that to there. Third quarter at this time, well, if we just go with what we said, about a month up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'd be somewhere in the peak here, possibly say here. And then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then here we'd be back on the way up. Of course, I'm just kind of making this up. Who knows if this will actually be the case. But I kind of think we're going to hit this zone again. Maybe even on the lower half of it. And then by the end of the year, we might catch it closer on the upward. But for me, if I were to scale this back, I'm going to pull this way back. We'll pull it back down to 33. In this zone, if I was saying this is going to come down, then it might be on its way up for a couple weeks. And then, depending on where the high is, right now I'm going to project here, closer to in this range. We'll, of course, see over time. We'll adjust this as we see fit. But I'm hoping we can kind of accumulate this once or twice, have a couple chances to maybe turn this into a 1 to 2 share position into 10 possibly. And then hopefully by the end of the year we can catch something and it rips up above 30 and we'll make good profit on that, in all honesty. Don't need much news to get it up there, I feel like, either. But enough of that. Let's move on to the final one. We have DraftKings. Kind of similar here. There was a decent amount of trading. So it got into our zone between the red and green line, which the green line is marked at $12, the thick one at the bottom, and then the red line's at 20. We got into this channel, you could argue January of 22, or more specifically, I would say March of 22. That's when it crossed in and it stayed in there. And so that's a year and a quarter at this point, just about. However, just recently, April, end of April, it pushed above that resistance point of 20. Ever since it got into that range between 12 and 20, it's been going all the way down to 11, coming up to 20, going down to 11, then it hangs out at 15, it goes back to 11, surged up to 20, pulled back a little bit, and now here we are going up. So we could do a couple things. I think at this point, this uptrend's been going on since December. So, I think there's enough weight behind this. Let's put something in. Let's draw some here. We'll pick this point. and just kind of pick this. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll draw this out till October. That's fine. We'll make it gold for us, just so we know it's there and kind of what it's about. And we'll do the same for the tops. Try to catch the tops here. That's probably not the best line. Probably pull this up a little bit. Something like that. And then I want to make it parallel. That'll be, I'm not sure if that's parallel. That's pretty close. It's pretty close. Okay, so we'll just keep that uptrend. That pretty much catches everything. That just doesn't look super parallel to me, but let me pull it up just a little bit more. I guess. So looking at the last time we looked at DraftKings, 412. So that was in this green bar somewhere. So that would actually was the low of this uptrend. We did not buy, but we did mark that 17 was something to us. And okay, so we kind of saw that after the fact. But 17, we did note it as a buy point. Also 12, which again, that's our green line. That may need to get updated, buy points. Resistance of 20, might need to change that too. But yeah, going with 412, so it was 18, so somewhere in this range. Since then, it's gone upwards. Our note that we left for ourselves is possibly found new support at 17. Okay. Short position was made around 19. Aw, crap. I hope I didn't. Hopefully I sold that. I guess this must have been a short that I put in a while ago. We'll double check. If there is such a thing still active, I'm going to get rid of that. I didn't think I had any more short type positions, but so that'll stink. It probably won't be that much, but still, that's not good. So yeah, let's just update this. So it was 18. All of a sudden now it's at 24. Buy points. If I were to just scroll back to a buy point, for this one, it's kind of active. Let's draw in another horizontal point somewhere around like here. We can pull that up. I'm just going to kind of split it. We'll draw in a resistance point here. I'm adding that one because, number one, it's been hanging out in that range for the past month. And also, if we go back to February of 22, it clearly dipped below 24, and then it just couldn't get above it. You know, it was more strongly resistant at 20. 24, there was also some resistance. And that's fairly recent. I think another point would be, and we can draw this one in not as thick, I guess, because there's not much to back it up, but I still just want to make it visible. Outside of that, like, not until we get to like 53. That's like a real, at least a little more weight behind it. Whoops. Let me draw in the horizontal so we can see what we're looking at. So 53, the reason I'm picking that is because right here, it hung out in that range. Couldn't get above it. Also over here, couldn't get above it. It peaked above it for a week or two, came right back down, hung out there. Here was a good breakout. Like, it definitely wanted to stay above there, but once it didn't want to go above it. Here it did it for a month and then just fell off a cliff, and then finding support here. So right now, this one, I guess we could say, is in breakout alert because, number one, it got through a very strong resistance point at 20, which is this lower red line, Now it's at 24, which also was a resistance line. It's currently above that point. Then I mean 30, there might be a little bit of resistance there. And if there's not, this one could shoot off all the way to 53 very quickly. So I still think we have time for that, but we want to be aware of that going forward. So again, in terms of a buy point right now, let's see. I'm going to take 12 out. I'm just going to make 15 the new 12, which is so that blue line. So we might bump that up a little bit, the green line, maybe next video. And then the 17. 17, there's something there. I guess the only other point that I would think about is 22. And the reason I'm saying 22 is that would be a dip, where, aka the bottom of the trend line. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll keep 17 because it did act as support for a little while. So 17, 15 goes less. Obviously, we're going to pick it up there too. In terms of resistance, 20 was strong. So I'm very surprised it's hanging out there. What I'm going to do is add in 24 because, again, it's hanging out there. It's been rejected at this point before. And then nothing till like 30. That's a huge jump. That is a huge jump. Considering we had buy points at 15 and it's already challenging 30, that's 2x very quickly. So I really hope I don't have a short. But again, if I do, it's probably like 4, 5 share. I don't know. We'll find out. But 6-4, update the date. The note that we left again was possibly found new support at 17. That's okay. What we're gonna add is uptrend intact for, what's it been? 5 months. For 5 months. Okay. And then yeah, I'm gonna look into that short position. I'm gonna write that down real quick. Short question mark. Okay. Overall, I'm just going to give this one red because it's hitting resistance points. I don't like that without knowing more about it. So again, if you know something about this one and want to share it, please do so. I'd be happy to read that. It would help me a lot because, you know, I'm going to get into it at some point. But if you know it already and can kind of give me a little heads up on it, that'd be great. But that's it for this one. That's also kind of wraps up the video too. So we have Draftkings here at the bottom, noting it's currently at 24. We have buy points at 15 and 17, and we also had resistance marks at 20, 24, and 30. So a lot of potential with this one, but we're going to hit these resistance points. But because it's a low dollar value, a lot of growth here. So very interested to see what the news is on this one, if there's a valid reason for it pushing so highly, so rapidly. But if not, yeah, we're gonna catch this one at 15 and 17 pretty soon. Let me remove that because, again, if it's there, I'm gonna probably sell it. But possibly found new support at 17. I like that, and it's in that uptrend for the past 5 months. So we are taking note of that. And so the last thing that we didn't do yet for this is, where's this one going to be at the end of the month, end of second quarter? Let's just draw a box in. Until I see otherwise, this one very likely could be in this type of range. Let's make it a little bit thicker. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be able to pull this off. Um, so for now, I'm just going to play it safe for this one. I think by the end of third quarter, I think it's going to pull back until I read something different. I think it's going to pull back into this range between 20 and 24. I think that's reasonable. And then this that we picked a long time ago, that was the end of the year. Oh, we can make it move in a little bit more. No. What? Like here, pull this in. Based on what I'm seeing, we need to pull this up. In fact, I'll pull it up here, and I'll pull this up to here now. We'll see how this plays out. That uptrend is acting pretty strongly. So we'll continue to watch it. I think this one will trend down. Again, let me look at the news to actually kind of confirm that. I do have decent amount of confidence in this one. I think I should probably, just to be safe, I'll pull it on the low side, and just to give it the benefit of the doubt that it could dip lower. But I feel pretty decent about this range between about 22 and 26 by month end, considering we're at 24. I think it's going to chop pretty much flat, could pop a little bit, could drop a little bit. So that is fairly decent. I'm comfortable with that. This third quarter, not too much weight behind that, but it kind of makes sense. The thing is, if it pulls back to 20, I could easily see this one pull back down to 17. So time will tell. But that wraps this up. Please like, subscribe. If you have any difference of opinion here, by all means share that too. But other than that, that's it. So I'll see you on the next one. Bye.